Okay, so I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone, guests, students, teachers, mom and dad, hello, the only parents in here. I've invited them, I was fortunate enough to invite them, the only parents. So I would like to start introducing you all to our guests, special guests today. First, can I introduce Ms. Natalie Glebova, Dr. Patama Mokev Dumas, Ms. Christiana Sipedwandi, sorry, I'm really nervous, Mr. David Bloomfield, Mr. Jack Thomas. Welcome you all and thank you so much. So I'd like to start off by introducing you to them and what they're actually all about, and then we'll get into more detail on their businesses. So Ms. Natalie Glebova is a former Miss Universe, an entrepreneur, an empowerment coach who has lived in Bangkok for the last 12 years. Please, can you give her a round of applause, please? Up next, we have Dr. Patama, who received her Juris Doctorate and attorney license from California. She has worked as a legal consultant and has become an entrepreneur in building technology and software industry. I would also like to add that both Ms. Natalie and Dr. Patama are also the co-founders of Empowered Program, which teaches young women to have a positive mindset, a confident and stand up to peer pressure, and be their best selves. I will also allow Ms. Natalie and Dr. Patama to go into the program in more detail soon. Okay, and we also have Ms. Christy. Can I call you Ms. Christy? We're very thrilled to be welcoming you back to BIST as a BIST alumni. Christy was in the school from 2003 to 2009. She went on to study her A-levels in Bromsgrove, UK, and completing a degree in accounting and finance at the University of Warwick. After graduating, she's now opened a company called Gold Bar. She has customers from all over the world, retail outlets in Bangkok, Dubai, Manila, and we'll be hearing more about that soon. Please give her a warm round of applause. I'd like to welcome Mr. David. Mr. David graduated from Rice University and has worked as a teacher in the US and in Thailand. In 2011, Mr. Bloomfield co-founded Top Scholars with a partner, and they wanted to create their own school to provide ethical, student-centered to approach preparing for life and after high school, something that wasn't heard of 7 years ago. They now have clients in Thailand, Singapore, China, Japan, Vietnam, Canada, UK, and the US. We'll be hearing more about Top Scholars later on. I'd like to welcome Mr. Jack Thomas. He's the founder and CEO of Base, one of Bangkok's leading fitness studios with 2 branches. With 8 years experience leading Bangkok's top studios, Jack is considered one of the region's leading industry authorities. He set up his first location in Sukhumvit in 2016 and the second location in Sathorn a year later. He is now leading the company with having further growth this year with local and regional expansions on the horizon. Jack was also a men's health columnist for 2 years and has written numerous columns for Guru Magazine, Bangkok Post, and Lifestyle Asia. I'd like to give a warm round of applause to all the guest speakers here today. I'd like now go to Miss Natalie, and then we would like to move on to introduce more about and detailed about your businesses, and please let us know what field you're in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and what a wonderful event that you have put together. You should be very proud of yourself. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Natalie, for those of you who have come in late and didn't hear my introduction. I'm a former Miss Universe, and I've been living in Thailand for the last 12 years. I have become an entrepreneur and an empowerment coach, and together with Dr. Patty, who's sitting right next to me, we co-founded a program called Empowered. And this program is designed specifically for young women, such as yourselves, many of you here. We teach young women how to reach their full potential for a successful and happy life. So we teach things like building self-confidence, how to be a positive thinker, how to have a winner's mindset, how to feel truly beautiful on the inside with the right body image, and a lot of skills for personal and professional development, such as professional speaking, writing, negotiation skills, and skills that you would need to be successful in life. We're very happy to have co-founded this program because we're truly passionate about inspiring other people from our personal examples and to help others succeed in life and lead very happy and fulfilling lives. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patty. Just everyone can call me Patty. That's okay. As Natalie was stating earlier, we have co-founded this program called Empowered, and she's done a very thorough and a very nice job in explaining what the Empowered program is. So just to add one thing, the two cornerstones of our program that really make it stand out is that we teach and then we also bond. So we offer workshops such as our 5-day foundation course and our add-on courses to teach, but we also emphasize the ability for the students to bond with one another and form sort of a sisterhood or a network of like-minded peers. So just to add on a little bit about Empowered. About myself, I am Thai. I immigrated to the US when I was 5, and I did all my studies there, including university and my postgraduate, my Juris Doctorate. And then I went on to receive my attorney license in California. After I passed, I moved back to Thailand, where I worked here as well as a legal consultant, and then I moved on to be an entrepreneur in the building technology sector. So things like the smart home system that you may have heard of or you may have used in your own homes personally. We also developed a software that helps to execute and to make the systems speak to one another. So I'll be sharing a bit more about my experiences in that as well as in the Empowered program. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Christiana, and as Michelle said, I used to go to Bromsgrove school here. Some of you might be in IGs. Who here is doing their IGs right now? Okay, great. Happy to have you here. So I was here right until after I finished my IGCSEs, and then I went to study at Bromsgrove School in the UK to do my A-levels. Who here is doing their A-levels? Exciting times. So yeah, after that, I studied accounting and finance at the University of Warwick, and immediately after that, I came back, and now I have my own business. I have Gold Bar, as Michelle said, which sells natural and organic cosmetics, so everything from shower gel and all the rest of it. And I also have a perfume brand called Sri London, so those are the two things that I do. And I'll get more into it as we go on. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is David Bloomfield. As Michelle mentioned, I went to Rice University in Houston, Texas, and upon graduation I came to Thailand. And I found that there was a certain need for a certain type of program here for students who wanted to study abroad, but were finding difficulties in finding kind of an ethical way to do that. So myself and a business partner opened up Top Scholars several years back. We started our first year, we had 7 students, and 4 of them quit within the first year. But within a few years after that, we became more or less one of the larger operations here in Thailand. We've actually kind of slimmed down a little bit now. Our company's a little bit different. But we help students starting from grade maybe 9, 10, who want to kind of learn more about what they want to do in their future and how they can use university to kind of help advance the process. I've been in Thailand for about 10 years now, and quite like it. So that's it for me.
Good afternoon, everybody. First up, thank you, Michelle, for inviting me here today. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. Hopefully some of my journey can help you out. I've been in Bangkok for 13 years. The last 7 years has been in the fitness industry, 7 or 8 years. And 2 years ago, I founded a company called Base. And now I'm running that company as CEO. Base offers group class training and personal training, more on the higher end of the market, so you could call us the boutique fitness space, if you like. My personal journey, so I've been in Bangkok about 13 years. First of all, I was teaching English, and the idea was just to pass through Thailand on the way to Australia. 13 years later, here I am. So I had about 5 years running a clothing export business after a short time teaching, which kind of introduced me to some of the fundamentals of business. And then after 5 years, I decided it was time for a change for various reasons, which we'll go into later. I wanted to do something which was more my calling, which for me was fitness training. So went back to the UK, got qualified in personal training, came back and started at the bottom of the industry. It's changed a lot in the last 8 years. It was quite undeveloped at that stage. To start off as a personal trainer, the studio I was working at became a bigger studio and I had a managerial position. Then my boss moved to Australia. I became managing director of that company for about 2 or 3 years. And then 2 years ago, I left that company and started my own company, Base. So I've been running that for about 2 years. We opened our first studio 18 months ago on Sukhumvit 36. And then our second studio, we opened up in Saturn about 6 months ago, although we grand launched last Friday. As Michelle said, we're looking at regional expansion, international expansion. So we're kind of weighing up our options now and see where we're going to go next. So yeah, hopefully some of my journey can help you guys out today. Thank you.
Thank you for the introductions. We'd now like to move on to the questions to get things started. Our first question will come from Anais, who is currently in year 13.
Do I ask all of them or do I ask somebody specific?
Up to you.
My question is, how do you decide like which path to take? For instance, like if you have like a passion, but you're unsure whether it's possible or whether it can happen, like do you do like a plan B or like which option do you take first?
So, would anyone like to go first?
I guess since I started first, I'll continue being the first to answer. That's a wonderful question. A lot of people at your age and even older don't really know what path they want to take. And I think that your purpose in life is a moving target. It's not something that you can set on and decide that this is what I'm going to do and stick with it for the rest of your life. As you grow, as you learn, and as you develop yourself, you will find that you like different things. Perhaps things that interested you in the past don't interest you anymore. So the important thing is that you have to fully know yourself and do a lot of self-introspection and self-discovery exercises like journaling and reading a lot of books about self-improvement in order to define what it is that you really love to do. And when you really find what it is you love to do, spend all of your time developing and refining your skills to make it the best, to make yourself the best at it. And of course, as you keep moving through life, it may change, and you may find new hobbies, you may find new passions, and that's okay too. I think that I didn't personally find my passion until, well, I have found several different passions throughout my life. You know, at the beginning it was entertainment and being in pageants, being on stage, things like that. Then later on I have moved on to music. I actually gave DJing a try, and I even pursued to be a DJ, which was a lot of fun, I have to say. I'm so glad that I did it. And even though I didn't stick with it in the long run, I'm so glad that at least part of my life I got to devote to my passion of music. Later on, as I continued my self-discovery, I realized that what I really love to do is teaching other people. I love being on stage, I love speaking, and I love to teach other people from my personal experience of how I found myself and how I found my passion. And that's why I developed a program with Dr. Patty called Empowered, where I get to do that. So I hope that answers your question.
For me, I believe that one of the most important things to listen to is that little voice inside of you called your gut feeling called your inner voice. And I really think that in modern times where we live in a quote-unquote loud society, it gets harder and harder to do that. So what do I mean by living in a loud society? We're bombarded every day by noise, whether it's the noise of cars, the noise of traffic, the noise of TV, the noise of social media, the noise of peers. So I understand that it's very hard to listen to that inner voice when we're bombarded by noise. So I think that to isolate your passion and really listen to yourself is very important. Usually it comes at a time when it's a little bit less loud, a little bit of a time when you have a bit more introspection. And if you don't find it right away, don't worry, because I think that it will come at a time when you least expect it. It's like when you go shopping looking for the perfect black dress. There's a lot of pressure and you probably never find it. And then the minute that you're not looking, but it's still in the back of your mind, it's that time that the little spark goes off. So for myself on a personal level, I studied to be a lawyer and I did practice the law for about 1.5 years. My passion did change slightly to where I became a business owner. That said, I never regret the choice of becoming a lawyer because it taught me what not to do and what to look for and not to do. So I still use my legal background in the companies that I have founded on a daily basis. And as a business owner, I have learned that the worst decision is no decision at all. So whatever you decide on, once you find that inner voice, go for it, 100%. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that, so I graduated from university in 2014, which, you know, that sounds like a long time ago, but I still feel what you guys are, you know, I can still remember what you guys might all be going through right now. You know, going through IGCSEs and A-levels, and what degree should I choose, you know, what, should I go to uni, which uni should I go to the US, you know, all these questions, and I think, you know, it's exciting times, as I said before, but it can be overwhelming in the sense of just the fact that you have so many options. I think, just adding on to that, I think it's more about finding what you want to do then. You know, it doesn't matter what you pick. So I picked accounting and finance for various reasons. You know, my mom said so and things like that, and that's okay. But whatever you decide, just make sure you give it 100%. And if it comes to be that it's not something that you wanted to do, that's okay too. So there's a lot of people, and I'm sure you know people who are in this position where they graduated from a degree that they're doing that has nothing to do with what they're doing right now. Is that correct? So, you know, whatever it is, make sure that you will enjoy it at a time. It is a big commitment. Like, you know, if you're thinking about university, it is 3 years that you'll be committing to. So whatever it is, just make sure you enjoy it. Enjoy the process, because you have to be flexible. Like you say, things might not turn out the way that you want it to, and that's just the way things are, you know. But that's the beauty of life, I think. And if you go into the situation framing this in your head, you're gonna be able to come out of it really strong. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Thank you.
You'll achieve that at your own pace. You don't know when those successes or those ideas or passions are going to kind of come to you. So don't compare yourself to other people and say, I'm less or more successful than them, because they might be miserable in doing what they're successful in. And you should always just kind of target, I think, what it is you want to do, and then as long as that's your main goal, you'll keep coming towards that. It'll naturally come closer. So just kind of keep your own pace. Don't feel the need to force it. Taking steps along the way when you have to make decisions, like what am I going to study in college, can be difficult. So if you're not sure, there's some options there. For example, the UK, 3 years, you're going to be kind of focused on one particular thing. But if you're not sure, maybe you might consider the US, where you can kind of, you know, explore a few majors before you decide. So depending on where you are at this point in your life, one location might fit you better, if that's what's kind of what you're still after. But really, take your time, it'll come.
Okay, a lot of good points already made, so maybe just repeating some of those. We did an event recently at BASE, which was about finding your purpose, and I had to give a talk on that, and it made me reflect on that a lot, what my purpose was, and like Natalie, my purpose I think has shifted throughout my life. You know, how it was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even the time I started BASE to the time now, you know, 2 years ago, I think that's changed and shifted quite a lot. But everything I learned through each stage of that journey is serving me now and where I will go next. So, you know, everything is like part of experience. It brings, or has brought me to where I'm at now. So, yeah, just kind of the journey I think is an especially important part. Yeah, I would also say that, you know, like you were saying, David, like finding out really what you want and not what other people expect of you, whether that's your parents, your peers, your friends, whoever it might be. I think when you really try and get to the root of what it is that you actually want to do, then you can find success, I would call that. And to be honest, I think it's quite difficult as you're younger, and I feel a lot more comfortable now defining what success is to me now than I would have been when I was your age. But yeah, even sort of 5 or 10 years ago, I feel a lot more comfortable with that now. But if you can really get that idea now that, okay, what does success mean to you and you only? What is important to you when you're looking back at your life when you're older? You know, what do you want to have done? What do you want to have achieved? I think if you can work that out, then you're on the right path.
Thank you very much.
So this question is for everybody. So how you become a successful person and how does your life change after your success?
Would anyone like to go first? Or we can start from this end.
Sure. I don't know if you reach a point, like, you know, midnight one day, suddenly you've succeeded. I think what success means to you shifts over time. I mean, looking objectively, some people might look at what I've done in the fitness industry and say, I have success in the fitness industry, but for me, my goal, my vision is so much more than what we're doing now. I wouldn't really call myself a success yet. And you know, it's more than just work achievements as well, right? Often on the outside, you look at someone and they might have had success in their relative industry, but you know, how are their relationships that they have with their family, with their partner? You know, what's their work-life balance like? You know, for me, success wouldn't just encompass what's on the surface, which is what most people see, what most people put out on social media, for example, but it encompasses everything that you have in your life. So yeah, I think it's hard to define, and I can't really answer what it's like to be a success because I don't feel as though I've necessarily had that yet. I think later in my life maybe I can answer that a bit more thoroughly.
Thank you.
Okay, so the loaded question, how do you know if you're successful? Or how do you become successful? I think everyone's going to define it differently, which is kind of the point of what we're talking about today, right? And for me, it wasn't so much that I achieved some particular goal that I had set out earlier, although those things were really nice. But it was when life kind of started to settle down, and I started to really enjoy going to work every day. I really liked working. I liked my job tasks. And for me also, my lifestyle was important. I didn't want to work until midnight every night. I did that for several years and it got old fast. So being able to kind of achieve a life where I'm able to spend more time with my family, that was big for me. But when I was 22, that would have been meaningless to me. Success would have been very different then. So it'll evolve as you kind of change. And in terms of how does it change you once you reach there, I don't know. I still feel like I'm kind of on my way. So I don't know that I'll ever be able to say for sure, okay, got that, done. But it definitely does kind of, I think, hit a point where you start to feel more relaxed and more calm and you enjoy life more.
Thank you.
I think for me, I wouldn't necessarily describe myself as successful. I mean, from what you guys hear over my story, it's still quite short. I'm still at the early stages of where I would hope to be. But in terms of your question is what is success and what happens to you when you're successful. I think for me, you're successful when you reach your goals. So it's very much dependent on your goals, and that can be short, medium, and long term. You know, you can set a goal daily, you can set a goal for next month, you know, and when you reach that point and you achieve your goal, say for example, it's to, say you want to if you're an athlete, right, and you say you want to beat your 5K time in 2 months, and in 2 months you do the test again, and then you do beat your 5K time, I would call that success. You know, it's something to be celebrated. I think as part of going back to the uncertainties of life and things like that, it's important. Personally, it's important to set those mini targets so that you do feel that comfort and that ease when you do reach those targets, and that keeps the journey more fun. So, yeah.
Thank you.
For me, I think that success is really in the eye of the beholder. And when somebody looks at somebody, they might define a set of A, B, C, D's, and E's that says that this person is successful. On the other hand, if one were to answer whether or not he or she is successful, that framework may completely be different. So because I'm going to answer about myself, I'll go ahead and define it as success only happens when one is happily achieving. I think that one cannot fully be successful without at least employing the notion of happiness, because I think that no matter how much you achieve and how much money is in the bank, how big your house is, how fancy your car is, if you don't wake up every day without happiness, you cannot truly be successful. Thank you.
I so much agree with what Patty's saying, because this is something we teach in our program, is that success without happiness is actually failure. We teach that in order to be truly successful, at the heart of it all, you must be happy and satisfied. And a lot of people chase success, and they chase the illusions of success by chasing things like money, fancy cars, popularity, friends, social media followers, right? That's what most people consider successful when they look at those Instagram pictures and they see people with their picture-perfect lives. They think that those are successful people. They don't really know what goes on behind the scenes or on the inside of those people. So for us, we truly believe that success comes from things like passion, purpose, fulfillment, courage, having opportunities and taking those opportunities, vitality, having amazing friends, fantastic relationships with your loved ones, and at the cornerstone of all of that is happiness. So that's what it is for me, and I think for everybody. I speak for everybody, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Here's a question from that I would like to ask. So how do you handle everything in terms of your career and your personal life? How do you balance everything out? Okay.
Balance is such an important thing in every aspect of our lives, I think, and definitely balancing our careers and our personal lives, it's so important. And how to do that, it's not easy, but it's about setting priorities at the end of the day. It's about saying, what is important to me? What are the 3 most important things in my life, which is, of course, my family, my career, and my health. So it's really important that I balance, I keep everything, and I give time in every single day, in every single week, and every single month and year, that I allocate a certain amount of time to each one of those things. So that I don't just get obsessed with one thing, like my career, and I just go full on and I forget to neglect my health, I forget to neglect my family. I make sure that I allocate specific amount of time. We have family days, we have even date nights with my husband. We have certain days that we go to base and we exercise because health is really important to us. So you just have to set your priorities and think what it is that is important to me, and dedicate a certain amount of time to each one of those.
Thank you.
I completely agree with that. It's all about priorities, and it's all about balancing. And I think, like with everything else in life, there's a give and a take. So nobody's life can be allocated perfectly into, family, then work, then myself, and friends completely equally. So I think that in 1 week, if there's heavy work, then the next week you sort of balance it out by making it a family heavy week. All in all, you can't be too tough on yourself, I think. So as long as you have the general priorities set straight and the general framework in place, then it's okay. And I remember when we were first about to have our baby, my mother-in-law said, you know, whatever you do, just remember that you have to make time for the self, the couple, and the family. And so long as you have that sort of framework in mind, you'll be okay.
Thank you. We now have a question. Oh, sorry. Please go on. Yes, please.
Okay. I'll keep it short, but it's just, for me, it's definitely hard. I really struggle to find a balance in life, especially with my businesses being at such an infancy stage. You know, there will be times when I'm like really struggling personally. I mean, I'm still finding myself in some ways. You know, we're all growing every day, but you know, there are things that happen that make you question things, or you know, and that's normal, right? So there's for me, I have to like focus my time on my business. I have to focus my time on my friends and family and relationships, my health, and then there's the figuring out bit, you know, which also has to happen. But I think in the same sense, you can't be too hard on yourself, and it's not like you have Mondays for this and Tuesdays for that. And on some weeks there'll be more attention that needs to be put here and put there, and you just have to be flexible, I think, and accept that nothing is perfect. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll just add one thing and say, I think it takes practice to get balance. Like, you're not just going to magically have balance because you decided it. And I think the things that you guys do in school, your extracurricular activities, those are absolutely essential to helping you learn how to have that work-life balance, right? Join clubs, play sports, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. And when you get to university, that will help you meet new people and get that balance there too. So when you're in school, when you're in university, don't think that grades are the only important thing, because when you graduate, you'll be a robot. You won't like your life, you won't have any balance. So meet people, get experiences, and I think that's a really important part of your education, so that when you grow up, that balance kind of comes with it.
So a little something to add. It's interesting to hear from people with kids, because I'm sure it's a lot harder than it is for myself. From when I started my business, I was so involved in the business. It was pretty much encompassed everything that I did. It was very, very hard to develop a healthy work-life balance. It wasn't, my whole life pretty much was work. But that felt good because I enjoyed it. So I think as time has gone on, I've kind of recognized the importance of really being disciplined and make sure that you have time for your family and your friends as well. So yeah, I think, you know, I agree with all the things that you said. The other thing that I would add personally is, as we've grown as a business, it's not just been about sort of discipline and making sure that I do the things that I enjoy in relationships. It's also been structuring the company in a way that allows me to have more time off. So that's something that I'm learning about now. So as we've grown from 6 staff when we first opened our first studio, we now have 30 staff. The workload obviously is a lot higher in terms of managing those staff and managing 2 studios. So I have to structure the business now in a way that means I can't do everything. I have to delegate things. I have to make sure that there are systems in place so that things happen even when I'm not there. And actually what I'm trying to work towards is, the bigger we get, the more I can really step away from everything that I did at the very beginning, so that I can have more time to focus on the business, the direction of the company, but then also to have more time for my personal life as well. So hopefully as the company gets bigger, it won't negatively affect my work-life balance.
Thank you. We now have a question from Chrissy. If you'd like to ask your question. Yeah.
What has been the most difficult obstacle you have faced in getting where you are today?
This is a very good question, and it makes all of us kind of think about our own journey and how we have come to where we are now. I would have to say that the biggest obstacle and challenge in my life has been my own self-doubt and my own limiting beliefs. Because I feel that everything that we set our minds to, whatever goal we have in mind, it's 90% mental and only 10% your skill or your ability. So whatever it is that you want to achieve and whatever it is that you want to set your mind to, remember that it's only you who's standing in your own way. It's your own limiting belief that is holding you back from realizing your full potential, from reaching that goal. So in my life, I have faced some of those obstacles and challenges where I didn't believe in myself, where I hesitated, where I doubted myself. But through reading self-help books, through listening to motivational speakers, I realized that once I can get past that and say, yes, anything is possible and I can achieve anything that I set my mind to, I managed to break through and reach all the goals that I have in my life.
For me, the most difficult obstacle has to be in the early days of starting my own company, namely in getting the first client. I think that's the most difficult aspect, because I think that when one starts their own company, first, nothing is guaranteed, nothing is for sure. So I think that after you work so hard to set up a company, you're not sure if the idea that you came up with, whether it's validated, whether it's going to be a profitable business model. So you work so hard to set all your ducks in a row, and then there's that defining moment of calling the first client to pitch your product or your service. And the nerves run rampant, the butterflies are fluttering, you have no references. People are like, well, can you give your service or your product for free? Can I sample it? Can I taste it? And you're like, well, maybe I don't have that. So you basically want to reach within yourself and find that perfect answer, that perfect rebuttal to them. But it's basically the limiting fears and that self-doubt, I think, that is the hardest in finding that client. So in the company that I co-founded in the software industry, at that time we were selling software, namely an application to hotels around Bangkok and around Thailand. So of course in the hotel world, in a very conservative industry, they just want references. So have you sold to your Accors and your Hiltons and your Four Seasons? And of course when you haven't, they just sort of look at you like, well, your idea is good, but maybe come back to me when you have A, B, and C references. So I think for me, on an entrepreneurial level, that's the hardest obstacle I faced.
I think the hardest obstacle that I face has something to do with self-doubt as well. You know, you're just not quite sure. The world is so big, you know, like you're just not quite sure if you're doing the right thing, if you're meant to be doing things in this way, am I doing the right degree? You know, I mentioned earlier that I did accounting and finance because my mom told me to, and this is not something I encourage, unless it's obviously something that you actually want to do. But during my degree, so it's a 3-year degree, after my first year, I looked around me and there were people who, you know, dropped out or changed degrees and all of those things, and then I didn't find this out until around the end of the second year. So you can imagine I'm already 2/3 done, you know, and I was thinking, should I change my degree now? Like, I really don't enjoy this. I don't know what's going to happen when I graduate. Am I going to go into banking? And I really don't want to do that. So, you know, there's a lot of self-doubt, and I'm like, am I going to be okay for life? But, you know, in actual fact, like, I think it's all about like realizing that although 3 years sounds like a long time in your life, it's such a small amount. So now I'm not even doing anything to do with accounting and finance. So what I'm trying to say is that whatever you do, it doesn't necessarily have to define you. There's always another way, you know. So yeah, here I am. I'm doing something completely different to accounting and finance, although that has helped. And I'm in the cosmetics industry. So yeah, I think getting over that is something that we all must strive to do.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. For me, my business has had kind of ups and downs. There was moments where it was like on the edge of failing and kind of had to save it. So those were tough times. But I think I was kind of prepared for that because I had had some failures earlier on. When I was in high school, I was just a terrible student my first year. I actually flunked out of school and had to go to a new school and start over again. But it worked out okay. But I think because of those experiences, I was ready for when things kind of went wrong in the real world. So don't be afraid to kind of go out and take a chance on things, maybe things that you might fail in or something like that, because then when you're actually in a spot where it might count for a little bit more, I think you're better prepared for it.
Yeah, I would completely agree that I think the biggest obstacle is often yourself, and overcoming yourself can often be the toughest part. You know, every day there's obstacles. Running my business, small obstacles, big obstacles, and like you, David, you know, I've had a lot of ups and downs for the last 2 years since I started my business. And really, if I look at the clothing export business that I did, it was great for about 3 years, and it took a downturn along with the global economy. So it was easy to sort of label that as an obstacle. And what made things difficult for me was the exchange rate from the pound to the baht. So the pound was very strong, and when the pound dropped, it really made my business quite difficult to run. So it's easy to kind of say, okay, well that was the obstacle that killed the business. But actually, what really killed it in the end, the business, was my motivation. That was the actual obstacle, because I wasn't really motivated to adapt and to change, which I could have done, but I just didn't really have the same drive and the passion for what I was doing at that time. So really, although the obstacle looked like the exchange rate, and it would be very easy to externalize and blame that, it was actually really me and how I viewed the business, and I wasn't really happy to continue. It wasn't really something I wanted to do. So in the end, that sort of drove the change that led me to where I'm at now. So yeah, I would completely second what you guys have said, that yeah, overcoming your own fears and obstacles is the biggest thing that you'll have to take on.
Fear of failure is a big obstacle for many people. They're afraid to try because they're afraid to fail. But actually, failure is only going to get you closer to your goal. You cannot succeed without having tried, failed, changed some things, tried again, and then maybe again and again and again, and then succeeded. So it's really important that you understand that failure is not an obstacle to your success. Failure is actually helping you in the long run. It's going to help you to succeed. So don't ever be afraid to try.
Thank you.
I think another way to frame that, I think if you haven't failed, you haven't taken enough chances, right? You've
That's
been
true.
sitting in your comfort zone a little bit too easily. So I think it's, yeah, I would second that again.
Exactly.
So would anyone else like to ask the panelists a question?
I've got 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is, it's more like a personal question, like how do you feel a bit more comfortable, a bit more happy within like your own body? And the second one is, what does the real world think about tattoos? It's just a random question that popped up in my head.
Thank you. That's a very, very good one. Can I take the first one? I think what you're really asking is about self-confidence, if I am interpreting your question correctly. Because you said, how do you feel comfortable and happy in your own body? And to me, that is a question of how do you feel confident about yourself. What I always say, and I like to, it's kind of a quote that I have written. Self-confidence, just like any other skill, takes practice. It takes years to develop, countless hours to perfect, but once you have it, it's not so easily shattered. So just like any other skill that you may learn, you're learning skills of, perhaps in school, whatever it is you're learning, speaking, writing, you're learning how to draw, you're learning piano or violin. It's a skill, right? So that's something that takes hours and hours to perfect. And when you have that skill, you can't just all of a sudden lose that skill. And confidence is the same thing. It's something that you constantly have to practice by reminding yourself of all the good things that you have, all the strength that you have, all the positive attributes, all the things that you're good at, and empowering yourself to really believe that you're amazing. And every single one of us is an amazing person. We all have something unique to ourselves that we should be proud of, every single one. And it's tapping into that uniqueness and reminding ourselves of why we're so great individually, and keep practicing that confidence over and over again until you have it, and then it's not going to be very easily shattered.
So, if it's okay, I'll take the first question as well. Maybe we'll leave the tattoo question to the guys outside. So I think that another way to feel comfortable in your own skin and to feel comfortable within yourself and your own body is to realize that we should never compare ourselves to others. Whether it be the others that are the siblings that are close to us in our family, whether it be our peers, our friends at school, our colleagues at work in the future, whether it be the life of social media and Instagram, whether it be the far-fetched world of Hollywood and the entertainment industry. It's important to recognize that we live in a culture of comparison. Since day one, we are judged whether we're the cute sibling, whether we're the smart sibling, whether we're the big accomplishers. And I think that the culture of comparison only works to make us feel worse about ourselves and more uncomfortable in our own skin. So I think that if we recognize that, coupled with the idea that you always want to realize your self-worth and always embrace all the positive attributes that you have, I think that those two are a strong pairing that should make you be able to fend for yourself and for your self-worth well in this brutal world at times.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with what you both are saying. I mean, especially as a girl, I think it's quite easy to feel insecure. So I completely agree with not comparing yourself with others. I think, and that takes practice, you know. I think stop trying not to seek validation externally, but telling yourself, you know, that it's your voice that matters is one of the best ways to practice, because, you know, I've been through that too. So it's almost like you have to tell yourself, like, you know, I feel happy because I am X, Y, and Z, and none of what other people think matter really, you know, and then that will somehow magically translate into self-confidence. So it's just a matter of practicing that, and for some people that might be daily, or it could just be through a period of time. But yeah, as Natalie said, you know, once you have it for good.
And maybe one of the ways to do that is daily affirmations, right? Things that you can say to yourself in the mirror, or just repeat as you wake up in the morning. Daily affirmations, I think, are a very powerful way to create that self-confidence.
I think that like we work out at base for, you know, your biceps and your triceps and your glutes and your abs, I think that the brain, which is what controls your self-confidence, is also another quote-unquote muscle. So yes, it has muscle memory, so the more you polish it, the more perfect and strong it'll be.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add to that as well. I think that if you're not happy with something, it's okay. It's okay not to be happy with, I don't know, maybe you put on a few pounds over Christmas, because that's when everyone puts on a few pounds, right? So maybe that happens, and you know, you accept that. You don't dwell on it. You're like, you know, I'm happy that I am this person, and I'm happy that I can do this and that. But hey, I've gained a few pounds, you know, and all you gotta do is just change it. You know, do something towards that, and it doesn't have to define you, you know. And as soon as you start making steps to change that, say you can set a goal, like maybe you lose half a kilo per 2 weeks or something, and then that starts to happen. That's what I mean about short-term success, right? You know, you set short-term goals, and then when that happens, it starts to make you happy. So happiness comes when you're achieving, as you say. So if you keep working on that, it will translate to self-confidence.
Okay, I'll say that everyone goes through it. like everyone. So no matter how confident that person might seem or whatever, they have their own kind of self-doubt here and there. So set your expectations realistically. You're never going to hit that mark where you say, okay, every day is sunny all day. There's always going to be some of that. But also, because of that, I think the people around you can empathize. So surround yourself with trustworthy people that you're friends with. Talk about those issues. If you're feeling a certain way, other people probably can lend a helpful ear, a sympathetic ear, because everyone does go through those things. So be open about it. I think it's important. And tattoos, to get to that, I would say it really depends on your industry. Yeah, if you want to work, at Starbucks, it's cool, probably. But if you're looking for a job at Bromsgrove International School, my guess is like neck tattoos are probably out.
Just to add to what David was saying, it's so important, as you said, to talk to other people, and you'll realize that everybody else is going through probably the same thing that you are. It's impossible to find a person who is 100% confident. We all have little doubts and we all have little fears and insecurities about ourselves. So don't feel alone if you feel that you're not confident. Everybody goes through that and everyone has something that they're not confident about. So it's good to remember that.
I don't have a huge amount to add. There's been some great points made already. I think in the UK, it's probably illegal to discriminate against anyone who has tattoos. You're probably absolutely fine if you go into the UK. Here might be a little bit different, I'm not sure. In terms of being confident, yeah, I would just say it came with time. The more confident you are about who you are and the direction that you're going in and your personal purpose and mission, the more comfortable you become in your own body. And for me, I think, the older I've got, the more comfortable I feel. I'm sure I'll continue, as I get older still.
So the answer is get older.
Exactly. When you're 80, you won't care.
So you're on the way.
Well, so in my opinion, I feel like excessive confidence can lead to arrogance. And from your perspective, where do you think is the safe limit for self-confidence that wouldn't be a disadvantage of your personality? Thank you.
Can I just ask how she defines excess confidence?
Well,
she mentioned arrogance, right? That's what you meant.
Yeah, excessive confidence. Like when you see someone and you think they're arrogant, you agree that they have excessive confidence about themselves.
So being too confident.
Well, anything in excess is not good, right? It's all about striking that perfect balance in anything in our lives. So I feel that as long as you're confident in yourself and you're not bullying others, you're not putting anybody else down, you're not tearing others down, you just focus more on yourself and knowing that what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are as well. It's important to be very aware of yourself. But as long as you're not putting anybody else down and just focus on yourself, then I think you're good to go.
I think that confidence is about you and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your own ability and your own ability to do things. But I feel that arrogance, on the other hand, is your relationship to other people. So it's kind of measuring an apple and an orange, more or less. But I feel like with arrogance, it actually stems from anger and hurt and insecurities. So it's actually the complete end of the spectrum to confidence.
Yeah, just like to add to that, I think it's just, as long as you're not harming anyone in the process, be proud. Like, by all means, be proud of what you achieve and things like that. But yeah, be mindful of what you're saying in front of some people. That's probably all I want to add.
I guess I would say it's pretty the same thing. Be mindful of the people around you, be empathic, try to listen to people, read a lot of books. You can hear about other people's experiences and realize that yours are kind of perhaps not as unique as you might think. There might be someone who's done more or less than you. And also just kind of keep in mind that certain things that might give people confidence, like maybe an acceptance to a university, that doesn't really change who that person is. It's the same person they were a couple weeks before. So kind of keeping those things in mind, that just because certain things that happen in life, certain achievements happen, that doesn't necessarily mean that you deserve to have more confidence than someone else who maybe didn't get those acceptances or something like that. So I think be empathic, try to kind of keep an open mind to everyone around you is probably your best bet to make sure you're walking that line well.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think some fantastic points made. Yeah, just defining the difference between confidence and arrogance, I think, is important. Yeah, confidence focusing on yourself, arrogance on other people. I would very much agree with that.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we would. Do you have anything else you would like to add?
Well, the only thing I want to say is that because I'm sure there's a lot more people wanting to ask us questions, so I think we can all agree to hang around for another extra 10-15 minutes to take any personal questions if you want to come up and talk to us. Happy to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I think we'd like to have our closing remarks by our headmaster here, Mr. Dr. Moore.
That's success, that is, Michelle. First of all, I've been sitting right at the back. I haven't just arrived, Michelle. I did tell Michelle I'll be a little bit late because I had a meeting until 3, but I've just been sitting at the back and I've been really, really impressed with your work, Michelle, to assemble this dream team of successful people to come into our wonderful school, especially one of which is an alumni, which is even more impressive. So, as headmaster of the school, I'd like to say a very big thank you to all of you for giving up your time so freely. Successful people are very busy people, I can tell you that now. So to assemble 5 of you on our stage is quite a big feat. And I'm very proud of you, Michelle, as our head girl, for doing that as your project, so well done. Just listen to what you all said. I'm not going to add anything because you're far more successful than me. But I suppose in different ways. But something was resonating in my head when you were talking about self-confidence. When I got dressed this morning, I put on this shirt. Now you may think, well, you're blind, Dr. Moore, because your shirt is awful. Somebody said that to me about a month ago. I was at a business meeting in town with a number of other headmasters, and one of them actually took the time out of the drink session, party, networking, to tell me, your shirt is truly awful. And I stood there and I thought, I like my pink and blue stripy shirt. Just because you don't, I actually think it's wonderful. And when I woke up this morning and I was in my wardrobe, I've got hundreds of shirts, my wife keeps telling me to throw them away. I looked at my shirts, which I like, and I thought, I'm going to put that shirt on, as a matter of principle, or what that man said. Because at the end of the day, success is confidence in yourself, exactly as everybody said. And that's a very important thing as you grow up, and you go through your life and you're constantly judged by people. So be proud of yourself. But thank you so much, enough of me wittering on at you. Please do hang around and ask any questions you have of our guests before they depart. And once again, Michelle, thank you very much. I'm very impressed with your project and also your session today. So thank you, Kumkat.
I'd like to thank you all for making the time for us today and coming along. We are very thrilled and honored that you would make the time for us today and make this a successful event, I would say. So thank you very much. Please can we give them a round of applause, please. For the closing remarks, I would like to invite Pump and Lynn to give out our little gifts for you guys to take back. So just some gifts to take back. If you need to leave the auditorium, you are allowed to do so. Allowed.
No longer.